You ever find yourself thinking in the middle of an argument, how did we get here? You try to say all the right things and the conversations still end up going left. That's because communication is not just about what you say, it's about how well you understand the person in front of you. Talkticians, welcome and welcome back. My name is Tatiana. I teach communication strategies to help you master conflict resolution. And today I'm sharing 9 of my favorite resources to help you better understand people so that you can communicate a little bit better. The first one on the list is called the yamas and niyamas. Now, this is a yoga based framework for self discipline. You don't have to practice yoga to read it. You don't have to follow any particular religion. It's just really good information. Now, I don't think we recognize how much of the issues in our lives happen because we are not happy. We are not at peace with ourselves. And I know I surely didn't realize it before reading this book. Before I really got into it, my life was rife with anxiety and I could feel it in all of my conversations. I was always in a rush, and that made the people who I was talking to feel very frazzled and sometimes unheard. And just having conversation with people, it made it really easy to project my own fears and negative feelings onto them because I just didn't have the awareness. And this book helps with that. It's easy to read. It's pretty easy to implement if you're actually trying. And it talks about concepts like seeking knowledge, non-possessiveness, being content with the things that you have. You'll be surprised how much understanding those concepts actually improve your communication. Reading this book helped me to ease my anxiety, to be more aware of the way that I was thinking about myself and other people, which definitely impacted my communication. So that's the first thing on the list is the yamas and niyamas. My second resource is The Five Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. Now, some people will be like, oh, that's some BS. I believe in it wholeheartedly. And I bet that you can guess with me being a communication coach that words of affirmation is my favorite. And it is. I feel really love when people say kind things to me. And that is how I show love. I really enjoy encouraging and motivating people and just speaking life into other people. And I would get really upset when people didn't do that back. Or if I gave them that motivation and then they were just like, yeah, okay, whatever. That would really hurt me. But I had to learn that it's not just about loving the way that I want to be loved. I had to speak to people in their love language. And that's what his books and his teachings talk about. So I would definitely recommend that. And if you're curious to know what those languages are, let's see. Words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, physical touch, quality time. So if you're looking to transform the way that you speak and the way that you love, definitely check out his work. Number 3 on the list, also Dr. Gary Chapman. I love his work. He also talks about the 5 apology languages. Somebody ever do you wrong and they apologize and it just still doesn't feel like enough? You're not being ungrateful, I promise you. It's an actual thing. There are 5 different ways to communicate, and the person who said sorry to you may not have said it in the way that you truly value. So it's important to know that. Saying I was wrong versus saying, how can I make it right? Those are 2 different things. They're both valuable statements, but they mean different things. So I highly suggest that we get into his work and understand the apology languages, because as we are on our communication journey and we are unlearning and relearning, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Okay. So definitely learn how to get good at apology languages. Also, I have a video called How to Accept and Reject Apology. So make sure that you guys check that out so that you could be on your, so you can be good with communication etiquette. My 4th resource is to really get to know the 4 communication styles. You have aggressive, passive, passive aggressive, and assertive. Understanding my style has helped me to better analyze myself and figure out what my weak spots are and how I need to better communicate with the people around me. It's important that we understand why people communicate the way that they do, because when we have that understanding, it's easier for us to develop the compassion and the discretion that's needed to have healthy conversations. If you want me to do a deep dive on the 4 communication styles and things that you could say to better communicate with each, let me know in the comments. My 5th resource is the conflict styles, and this actually goes hand in hand with communication styles. Typically, the way we speak is the way that we solve problems. So you have competing, that style tends to be more aggressive. Then you have avoiding, that style typically likes to avoid conflict. They don't want to get involved in that. You have accommodating, that's typically the person that goes with the flow. It's whatever you say. They kind of put their needs on the back burner. You have compromising. That's basically when two parties get together and they say, hey, we both gonna have to give up something if we're gonna have to, make this work. And then we have collaborating. And I really love that one, especially as somebody that studies and enjoys understanding conflict. Because when you collaborate with another person, the goal is not really to lose anything. It's really to come up with a win-win solution. And that takes a lot more creativity and a lot more patience. So I enjoy that style too. My sixth resource on the list is understanding nonviolent communication. You know that saying that goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me, or however it goes. Lies. Words do hurt. Hence the term nonviolent communication. Empathy is very powerful and it can be very easy to get caught up in the emotion when you're in a conversation. But if you're in the business world or, you're just trying to get something done and you still want to be kind, you need structure, right? So I love this framework of nonviolent communication because it does just that. It helps to give you that balance. So the four parts of it are O, F, and R. O stands for observations. You plainly state what you saw. You don't get all emotional about it. You don't accuse them. You just state the facts. F is for feelings. You clearly state how you felt about it. What is the emotion word? I felt let down. I felt disappointed, rejected, angry, whatever that feeling is. Then you have N for needs. I need you to help me with the dishes. This lets the person know what you need so they don't leave the conversation confused. And then you have R, request. So you say what it is that you need. Would you be willing to help me with the dishes? This is great because we're not demanding anything from the other person. We're literally asking for their cooperation, and people are going to be a lot more open to that. So OFNR, observations, feelings, needs, and requests. It helps you connect, share your grievance without damaging the other person. Number 7 on my list is mental health first aid. And y'all know, if you've watched any of my other videos, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month, I love mental health first aid. It's an 8-hour certification course that helps people to recognize the signs and symptoms of someone that's going through a mental health challenge or a mental health crisis. And that's important to know because we're sitting here arguing with somebody that is struggling with anxiety, or we just call somebody lazy when actually they're battling for their life with clinical depression and they literally cannot get out of bed. So it helps us to better understand those things, better support people, and it definitely helps us in our communication. Then we have number 8 on my list, the Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's basically a personality test. There are 16 different personalities. Some people are like, oh my God, this is BS. It doesn't make any sense. I swear by it. I have yet to come across something as accurate. I always say that you can't understand anybody if you don't understand yourself. So I love this assessment just for that purpose. It goes really in depth. It tells us how we process information, how we deal with conflict, how we like to communicate, what are our values, all of these different things. So when you understand the different personalities, you will clearly see why some people get along and why some people don't, which is very, very valuable in the communication process. So definitely check out that test. Then for my 9th and final resource, I can never say this word properly, cognitive biases or biases and logical fallacies. So a cognitive bias is basically your brain's way of making a shortcut. Your brain is responsible for processing a lot of information all at once, and it does that because it needs to keep you safe. Unfortunately, a byproduct of that is that it doesn't have time to process everything super accurately because the brain is focused on being efficient. So what that means is that we're wrong a lot of the time. And I don't know if there's really much that you can do about it outside of being aware and apologizing when it happens, but it's something that the brain does automatically. So for example, you have confirmation bias. Let's say that you're in a relationship with somebody, you love to text, that person is just not, it's not their thing. And you text them this 5-page letter and they don't get back to you. And in your head, you're like, see, I knew that they were a terrible communicator. I knew that they sucked at texting. The person comes back to you, they apologize. Y'all have had many conversations about this. They messed up. That apology is probably not going to matter to you. One, because they probably didn't say it in your apology language. Make sure that you go ahead and check that information out. And two, your brain has already said, no, I believe that you are a bad texter. You're a bad communicator. That's it. Okay. So we're all guilty of that. We all fall victim to it. There are over 100 different cognitive biases. So that goes to show that we need to be a little bit more humble when we speak because we make mistakes. We're human. Then we have logical fallacies. So these are mistakes that we make in our thinking process that then make our arguments invalid or weak. So one fallacy is the bandwagon effect. Everyone says that you're being dramatic, so maybe you are dramatic and you start to believe that. Just because everybody's saying it, don't mean it's right, don't mean it's true. We know that. Then we have a fallacy called post hoc. And like I said, we are we all fall victim to this, but I can tell you from firsthand account, I have seen this with my island people. Mother comes home, you got a teenager, and the mom is like, "Wow, you didn't clean up the house. You must want to kill me." Blah 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 blah. And she's like going off, and the teenager's like, "Whoa, how did we get here? How did me not cleaning up turn into me trying to murder you?" Basically, post hoc fallacy is this caused this event. You didn't clean. You want me to die. So, this is just a reminder that our brain does these things. We need to approach our conversations with more humility and understanding. Okay. Love languages, conflict styles, mental health first aid. We've talked about a lot today. So, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Which one of those resources, y'all let me know in the comments, which one of those resources are you going to start practicing this week? I hope that these tips help us to better understand ourselves and the people that we are in communication with. And I hope it helps you to navigate those difficult conversations with much more understanding, grace, and patience. Talkticians, till next time.